Alright, hi everyone. News just in. It has now been upgraded to a tropical storm lead. This is the storm right here that we are watching. It's rapidly intensifying and it is rolling fast. 15 miles per hour. It's now a tropical storm. It is moving quite fast. We're already seeing a lot of developing rotation. Outer bands are already starting to be made right here. More outer bands are also starting to be right here. They are forming. The center of rotation is right here. That is building a lot of wind. We need to unfold a lot of things today. I hope you're having a great day. I will tell you. So here we have Tropical Storm Lee right here. And we have Tropical Depression 12 right here. It is starting to organize and it is starting to build rotation. It's starting to like move a track this way. So it's kind of following the path of Tropical Storm Lee. This actually could, this actually, one of these storms could actually make impact in this area. One of these, potentially. Not guaranteed, but possible, so I will keep you updated. We have some showers and thunderstorms around Cuba, some activity. We have this, more active rainfall. We also have some more rain over here and some rain in the Gulf. Nothing that bad. This area is also getting some showers and thunderstorms. They've had it since like this whole day. Nothing too new. Nothing that bad. Pretty quiet, but we must keep an eye on Tropical Storm Lee and Tropical Depression 12. This is going to be something that we need to keep an eye on. The main focus is Tropical Lee because it already is a tropical storm. We have these tropical waves starting to move off the coast of Africa. Starting to move off of Africa. I shouldn't say coast because they're not that close yet. The main part of it is still pretty far away from that to happen. It's moving kind of slow, but it's really starting to kick up. As you can see, we have disturbance to 60% chance. I think that did upgrade. Yes, 70% chance. You can see that it's kind of starting to curl, and it could end up going like that. It could end up going like that. It could just go in the Caribbean. It could just float back up. It can go anywhere it really feels like. It could really affect anywhere. Those are some areas that I think that it could potentially go to. Not official, but potential. We have Lee, Tropical Storm. It's moving pretty fast. As you can see on Zoom Earth, we have both of these systems. It's really starting to look like a hurricane now. Because it's really now starting to make this spiral. And an actual like 5 looks like this. So it's really starting to make that kind of curl that I've been talking about for the past few days. That is going to affect a lot of things. We also have this other potential disturbance, 30% chance of cyclone formation in 48 hours. It's that it's part of the wave that's coming off the coast of Africa that is right here. And part of this, that is the disturbance that we are seeing here. I'm not too worried about that. We do not need to focus on that. So yeah, new updates with this storm. So this is Tropical Storm Lee. Just gonna refresh that. Right. So this is September 5th, 5 p.m. That is 25 minutes below our time where I am. 8 p.m. Like, you can already see that these showers and thunderstorms are organizing. I want you to pay attention to this area specifically. There's a lot more of things that blew up during that time frame. That is 3 hours. That is very, very strong development. This is going to be very fast and very fast growing. It's going to move very fast. It's going to come washing through. It's going to make a lot of rain on the lower border islands and the higher border islands. It's also going to make impacts right next to them. As you can see, this is 5 a.m. September 6th. It's already just making this spiral. By then, I think it's pretty decent, strong tropical storm. Those outer bands are really starting to spread out. It's already making impacts in these kind of areas. These outer bands are strengthening rapidly. Pay attention to these areas and pay attention to these areas. These are going to form up and they are going to form up quick. These things are not slow and they bring a lot of rain and potential tornado threats at this point. As these things continuously strengthen, you can see this strong, stretched out squall line of thunderstorms. And then on the backside, there's these strong squall lines. There's two quite strong squall lines that are going to be making impacts pretty soon. There's some showers and thunderstorms. The clouds are starting to roll in maybe 300, 400 miles away from the lower border islands. As we continue through time, these things they kind of dissipate, but then the backside of this storm moves onto shore. That is already affecting people by now. That is going to be giving some more gusty winds, flooding potential, and I think that's a pretty good chance of that happening. Then these outer bands kind of dissipate a little bit, but do not worry about that. I mean, actually, that's a good thing. By now, it's probably a hurricane, or a very strong tropical storm. I would doubt that it would be a tropical storm because I can see the eye. That's kind of rare for like an actual eye to be sticking out. But these outer bands did dissipate, but they will come back shortly. And as we continue through time, they kind of separate from the storm. They kind of go over here, but as I said, they have developed a lot. They are clean, they are not gappy, and this area is still getting its rain. Tornado threats, I doubt it, but the clouds are already moving in. The lower border islands are starting to experience some light rain and occasional heavy and strong thunderstorms, but not as bad as they're going to see. You can see now, you see the lower border islands right here, but maybe 100 to 200 miles from that, there's this very strong leftover outer band storm that's making impact right under the lower border islands. This area is going to be seeing a lot of rain and tornado threats potential and more gusty winds potential, but we are not really worried about the gusty winds at this point. We are worried about the flooding threat. Most people do not think that this flooding threat is going to do much, but it's going to come down, and it's going to come down fast, and whenever it's forecasted to how many inches, that's how much it's going to be. And on top of that, there's going to be a little bit, like a little tiny above average high tide. It's not really going to affect anything, but even towards the middle border islands and the higher border islands, they're seeing some very light rain, but towards the middle, they're starting to see more heavy rain and stronger thunderstorms. As we continue, we should be paying attention to this outer band because it might wrap around and start affecting the lower end regions. As I was talking about, 100 to 200 miles away from the lower border islands, you're still going to see a lot of that rain. The leftovers of the outer bands are going to see a lot of that. The worst part of the storm is staying off the shore, which is a very good thing. Then the lower border islands and the higher border islands are all experiencing showers and thunderstorms that are strong. These are not weak. flash flood watches will probably be effect for those regions. So you need to take this seriously because there's still going to be lightning. There's still going to be some more gusty winds, and there's still going to be a tiny bit above average high tide that you'll be experiencing, and you will see a lot of heavy rain, and this is going to be for a decent amount of time. This is 11 p.m. September 8th. You do not want to be driving at night. Even towards 2 a.m. September 9th, there's this very, very strong outer band that is kind of not really affecting anyone, but this might start to affect people. So you hope that this very strong outer band that I circled weakens. I can already see that this intensity is really starting to wrap up. This might even be like a 2 at this point. We will go into that forecast. There's still that very heavy rain that's affecting the 100 to 200 miles away from the lower border islands, and the lower border islands are still seeing it, the middle border islands are still seeing it, and the higher border islands are still seeing it. This is not something that you just want to stand outside and be in. It's not going to dry it for a while. It's going to be cloudy, so the sun won't have a chance to start drying it up. That's going to be after the storm all moves away. And remember, other clouds move away. There has to be light clouds, not heavy clouds. And then at 5 a.m. September 9th, still raining. 3 hours from now, it hasn't really changed, but this outer band it's a very good thing that this very strong outer band is staying away from land, because that could produce a lot of isolated tornadoes and a lot more straight line gusty winds and very, very heavy rain. It's actually a better thing that these outer bands are affecting these areas, because they're not so organized, but they are big and they have a lot of rain, and they're not so fast. They kind of stick around because they keep forming up, because it has that potential. This is why the storm is developing so much, because it has all what it needs. Thunderstorms kick up because it gets the nutrients that it needs, and this is exactly the same thing that it needs, the same stuff that this hurricane needs. And that's what keeps it from staying, and it kind of is getting caught up, so it can't really move that fast because it keeps from forming. That is what we're seeing here, and that is what's causing a lot of this rain. This is 8 a.m. September 9th. It's starting to retract from this area. You're still going to see a mostly very wet day, and off and on showers and thunderstorms towards the afternoon to evening. It's going to be a time period where it's just drizzling a little bit, then it's going to be very heavy. It's going to be downpouring for a little bit, then you're going to get a break, then it's going to be downpouring again, then it's going to be drizzling for a little while, like 2 to 3 hours, and it's going to downpour again. 8 a.m. September 9th, they're still seeing lots of heavy rain, so I wouldn't say tornado possibilities anymore, but definitely some flash flood watches would be in effect, I would assume, by this evidence. 11 a.m., you can see that these showers and thunderstorms are starting to head up towards the stronger parts of it, starting to head up to like the middle border islands, and the lower border islands are starting to see these more heavy rain bands. There still are heavy rain bands that are sitting there still and bringing off and on strong showers and thunderstorms, and also just a drizzly day. It's going to be like this for most of the day. 2 p.m., these showers and thunderstorms are yet to still be sitting here. They have the nutrients still, and they will keep feeding on that, but they are starting to move. They are moving with the system. They are following each other, and they are moving away. The lower to middle border islands are now starting to experience it. They are seeing these heavy rain periods of time for 2 to 3 hours. Then it's going to calm down for a second, then it's going to kick back up. There's a lot of rain that goes into these systems. Even the outer bands produce a lot. Now, finally, the rain is starting to slow down and chill out, but there's still a lot of moisture in these areas that could form up thunderstorms that are not even necessarily from this hurricane itself. It can just legit be just the leftover moisture that is supplying thunderstorms to kick up by itself, and that's going to be the leftovers and remnants of what you just went through, which is going to cause even more rain, so it's going to put even more delays to having all that water retreat and dry up. This is what's dangerous even if you're not in the storm itself. People do not take flooding as serious as they should be. Now, these rain bands have been raining for a while, so this area is really starting to weaken, but you can see that there's these big clumps that have actually got supplied by the storm itself. This is 8 p.m. September 9th. It has been a wild day with all of this rain. It is now starting to retreat and is starting to leave. The higher border islands and towards the middle border islands are still seeing some rain, and it's going to be off and on for some time. Now, this area will see a few showers and thunderstorms towards like 11 p.m. September 9th. There's some big clumps of rain that's still going to move through, but I think by tomorrow all of that moisture is going to start to go down. It's going to start drying up. Towards the higher rise border islands, you guys are still going to see it until probably tomorrow morning. So yeah, you're still seeing it at 2 a.m. September 10th now. The lower border islands and maybe just towards the mid is seeing some more cloudy conditions and a little bit of drizzle, but the lower border islands are really basically dried up. There's some leftover clouds, but they are now going into the drying phase where all that water starts to get absorbed by the sun. There's this very heavy thunderstorms that are going to be making impacts in this area, so it's going to take a little bit longer for that area to start to see those water absorbing. But the good news is these clouds are ejecting, so when it's not raining and it's not cloudy, the sun will finally take over and it will start to take out that rain, which is a good thing, and we want to see that. Even further, you can see that there's these big storms that are actually kind of maintaining, it's just kind of going down, but there will be some leftover showers and thunderstorms that are going to be impacting the coastal regions. And around the coastal regions, they will still see some ongoing strong thunderstorms. They will see that. As we continue, the hurricane has now actually retreated, and there are some outer bands of the outer bands. I mean, they're kind of outer bands, but they're very weak because they've been raining. But those will be supplied, and they will come back, and they will rain on other regions. The clouds are really starting to clear out now, but you can still see that. There's these mainly very heavy rain bands staying away from the area that got impacted by the outer bands of Hurricane Lee. That is a good thing because we don't want more and more rain piling up. We need that to dry up. And after all, by the end, these showers and thunderstorms are also now starting to dissipate and they are leaving. There's some more heavy pockets of just clouds, not really rain, but this area is starting to clear up. The higher rise border islands are still seeing a lot of heavy rain. This is why we have to take precautions, because these rain bands stick with you for a while. Even towards the lower border islands, they're still seeing those leftover outer bands that you were actually getting rained on from a lot longer ago. But look at this. Lee is strengthening extremely fast. By this point, it is a 4. That eye is ginormous. It is a strong, strong hurricane at this point. We are not sure. It could go in any of these areas that I think. It could ride over there. It could ride over there. It could go to Bermuda. Most of the models would say that it's going to kind of just drift away northeast. But there are still some models that show that it can ride through Cuba and go into the Gulf. From there, we don't actually know where it's actually going to impact. It could be like Idalia again. We just hope that doesn't happen. there's so many areas that we just need to cover, and it's gonna take a while. So Florida, don't worry yet, because there's a lot lower chance of you guys actually being impacted. So don't worry about that. Don't worry just too yet. Just know that there is going to be a system that's moving through, and it is quite close to the Bahamas, and we're not sure if it's going to start drifting more west because it's showing that it's actually more west than what the model showed before. This is as far as we can go, but we can see this is September 10th, 2 p.m. This is as far as we can go for now. So as we can see, there are some occasional stronger times where these thunderstorms form up. There is this little extensive um system, but not really system. Then we still have this thing that was kind of over here. It's just drifting around. It's not doing much. It's not going to do much. Just a little bit of swirls, which won't. It's not going to do anything. It's just more rain. And then there's extended rain and some rain that's left over and some rain that's bubbling over here. It's pretty fine. It's not going to do anything. Oh, okay. Now, so this, okay, so you can see that we have these both of these systems that are starting to move off, and then we have some other tropical disturbances that are starting to move off of Africa itself. Now, both of these systems need to be watched closely as the tropical depression 12, which I'm gonna make an arrow to, and then a circle around that right here, just off the coast of Africa, is starting to seem like it's actually turning and it's starting to follow the path of Lee. This could do so much, and we just really need to keep monitoring both of these systems. But the main priority we need to pay attention to is Lee for now. But I would expect that Tropical Depression 12 could potentially become a Hurricane 1, if not maybe a Hurricane 2, but I do not think that's going to be susceptible, as some activity could happen with both of those storms. I think Lee could potentially do some damage to Tropical Depression 12. That could potentially happen, but they seem like they are at a far enough distance that they're not going to do anything just yet. We'll keep an eye on that. There is some wind shear like right here that Lee is kind of producing, and I think that's kind of holding Tropical Depression 12 away, but we can actually show the track. This is what it looks like on True Color Model. You can kind of see it a little bit more easy. It's not so 3D-ish. So they are pretty far away from each other. They far away enough that it's probably not going to do much, and we need to keep an eye on both of those systems because they can collide, and I think Lee would take the power of Tropical Depression 12. So I'll keep an eye on that. We have Idalia really starting to weaken, but it's really just making its way to Atlantic Canada, and it's really just kind of sitting there with some of its outer band and showers and thunderstorms kind of still in that region, kind of just putting some clouds and occasional drizzles, but not really anything to worry about. So I'll keep you updated on that. Alright, so this, we don't need that, we need, alright, so this is what we're seeing right next 5 days. So this is what we're seeing right now. This is like today, and we can see that most of the winds are actually staying off the coast, but there are some exceptions where the more high-rise border islands are, where they're, like, what I mean by high-rise is like lower areas are right there, the middle areas are right there, and the higher areas are right there, which means they're more north. Those areas are maybe going to see a little bit more wind. But even then, I think the worst area would be right here, around 24 to 25 knots. And then as we go further, it's not that bad. Maybe a little bit more breezy, but that's okay. Nothing that bad and nothing we have to worry about. The worst of the winds, that the furthest we can go, 5 days from now, 100 knots. That is, the worst winds are going to be offshore, which is great news for us. We do not want those bad winds to be affecting the actual area. Next 12 hours, let's go to there. It's really not making any impacts. We can't really see that. Next 24 hours, we can really see the system starting to build itself. The higher winds would be towards like the center of rotation. I can already see that ring starting to make it. You can see those higher rings next, those higher areas of winds next to the eye, which shows that it's starting to build, and that eye wall could potentially start to form. That is what we're seeing. Next 2 days, we're starting to see this line of winds because it's going to kind of follow the coast, but it's also going to start to get closer and closer. So this area is where the most winds would be. The actual more effective winds. Next 3 days, we actually see the line, and we can start to see it curl a little bit. And it's probably going to go like right there. If not, the closest would be like right there. And let's see. Then the next 5 days, we can see that it really started to curl. But does that raise a concern? Because let's say, we know that there's going to be this low right there that is going to kind of protect Florida, but we honestly don't know. And there's also going to be a cold front that's going to make contact with the system, but if it doesn't and it beats it in time, or it gets there too late, we can see that the winds are kind of pointing like that and kind of like that. And the winds are kind of really, it's focused in this area. That concerns me because Florida's there, Georgia, South Carolina, Cuba, not really Dominican Republic, and potentially even North Carolina. Of course, we want this storm just to drift off and not cause any damage, but we are not sure yet. This is 5 days from now. This is September 10th. It's too far out for us to really make an approximate guess. This is right now. We can actually see the track of how strong it's going to get. We can see that it's going to be a 2 where I kind of mark, and a 3, and then a 4, and a 4. Those are some really strong impacts. If that were to make landfall, that could do significant damage. Significant. So we can see right now that, well, basically around my time, the higher clouds are around 51 to 55,000. So that is quite high, but it isn't unreal for that to happen. Possible showers and thunderstorms could do that. But as the time rolls by, those start to build, and that shows intensification. I think we might be experiencing a little bit of wind shear that it kind of affected with, because it seems a lot more like quiet. Now it's about to be like a hurricane, so it's gonna really start to kick up now, and it's going to really intensify. And then, right, so you can already see the high-rise clouds starting to get pretty close to the coastline. You can see it actually right there. This is around 42 to 53,000 feet, and that's Georgetown, that area. now it's probably getting close to like a 2 because it's going to be kind of in the middle. So like right here, it's probably going to be like a 2. And then you can see that there's these very high, like Port of Spain, there's a lot higher clouds kind of following this line that shows that these outer bands are starting to move in pretty quick. And then these areas still have these very high clouds that are rolling in. And as you can see, like once it becomes a 3, it's quite advanced. It's not joking around. It's not a storm that you can just go diddly daddling in, because if that eyeball were to actually hit you, those are some really strong winds, my bad, that you would see. Even over here, there's going to be a lot of rain, most likely, because those are very high clouds. They're storing a lot of rain and power into them, so they will eventually have to let it go. You can see that it's really starting to move up, and it's starting to really define itself, because by now it's definitely 4. So it's really starting to kick up. It's moving pretty quick, but then we can kind of see that it's actually kind of taking a turn more northern. This is what a lot of the models have been saying, but it is a little delayed because there's actually going to take more of a turn right here, but it's taking a turn right over here. So that's not a big concern, but it's definitely just a change of what we've seen. As we can, whoa, okay. So it kind of went north, then it kind of went south, and then it kind of went west a little bit, but you can see that it's really defined now. Like, this is a actual major hurricane that you just can't joke around with. But now it's okay, it's gonna keep going west, okay. Then it starts to get kind of pushed. Oh, my bad. So it's gonna start like kind of getting smeared, and it's gonna, I think it's gonna get forced to be put more northern. Yeah. Let's see. It's getting quite close, but you can see that now it's starting to go north. But it's also going like northwest. It's kind of hard to see and tell right now because it's far. This is going into like next week. Yeah, you can see that it's now going north. So we're not really gonna see anything for Florida, Bahamas. I doubt it. I really do doubt it. Alright, so then we can put it all the way over here. And yeah, so that is the forecast for that. You can see that it was kind of, this other system was gonna be pointed like it was gonna go that way, but now it's going this way. So that could actually go into the Caribbean, or it could just follow the track, and it could potentially either get sucked up that way. I'm gonna put some areas that it could actually affect. These are just my guesses of how the cones look. So there could be one that loops and then goes up north and just gets canceled out. There's a lot of things we need to watch with both of these systems, but the major, guys, like the major area is Lee. That is something we need to look at and we need to keep monitoring. Florida seems pretty quiet. There's some thunderstorms, but they're mostly out to sea right now in the Gulf of Mexico. So that wraps up my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Always remember to stay weather ready. and I'll keep you updated. Bye.